Good morning, little webcam. So I set an intention um, to think about vulnerability while I was asleep. Uh, so vulnerability, uh, it's I feel as though I have this connotation of it like it's like a weak state, or it's an exposed state, like a battle defense strategy. It's not an effective one. but but it's I had this thought recently that it's really very rare that I or maybe anybody ever really sees a human expressing themselves in total raw form, like not the way that they think they think that other people want them to express themselves, or how they want to be perceived, or how they're perceiving other people perceiving them and adjusting their actions to it, or even when just doing like daily tasks by themselves or something, it's still it's still like that person in relation to whatever they're doing, or that person in relation to whatever object they're moving, or that person in relation to whatever person they're perceiving. So it's having a human in raw form is is fairly rare, I think, and I I've been wondering about how to cultivate that level of vulnerability. Um, that like a place where you're just totally open and totally sharing everything that you are with everything that you're around. Um, I think that's I feel like that's some kind of key that I'm looking for. Um, Even especially okay. So at Creation Flame yesterday, we were talking about our shadows. And part of the thing about the shadow is that it doesn't, I mean, the shadow, according to psychology, pretty much, or according to my basic understanding of whatever it may be. Because really, I mean, really, at the end of the day, everything is one, right? So there isn't any separation between your light and your shadow, because you're just whole. You're just the whole universe. But for I mean, for the sake of being able to talk about these things, we're gonna just talk about it anyway. So the thing about your shadow is that it's like this little compartment for things that you don't want to be seen, that you don't even want to be seen by yourself. So having cultivating vulnerability in some sense is really helpful for that. So you can bring a lot of those things to light, and even it's kind of, I guess it would be still on the same lines of humility, being being humble enough to say that, like, yeah, I am this, but I'm also this, and sometimes this happens. One of a huge thing for me was realizing that I was a storyteller, and I mean, one of the things about being a storyteller is that honesties. Excuse me. One of the things about being a storyteller is that I realized that I've been telling lots of stories my whole life of I don't know, like my own mythology, kind of, that I created, and being able to, like, because I mean they're really just lies, like bad intention, not bad intention, but not well intentioned stories, or not conscious, like, stories that you're trying to stories where you're trying to convince yourself that you're something that you're not, or you're trying to convince yourself that something else is something that it's not, and then you're trying to forget about it and put it in your shadow so that you never look at it again. That, like, those kind of stories. uh, but yeah, like being being vulnerable with myself and being open to myself. being open to myself and telling myself that it's okay. Like thanks for being vulnerable, thanks for being open, and thanks for sharing all of these things that you think are darkness. And I'm here to tell myself that that's not actually darkness, it's just everything. So redirecting and tweaking it slightly is all I needed to do. And now what I like to do is rewrite stories for events after they've happened, after like you go through the whole process of trying to figure out what lesson you were supposed to learn, or what what part you were kind of holding out on, I guess, for oh god, I'm tired. What part you were holding out on for the like learning curve. Then I can rewrite the story of how it happened. This is another trick that T Fairy told me about. That T Fairy, that like for you and a loved one, whenever you guys get in a fight about something and you both kind of fuck up, afterwards you can just be like, oh hey, how about we rewrite this story in a way where both of us were being as awesome as possible. So you like slightly tweak the story, but the story is really irrelevant at a certain point. So you can just make the story whatever you want. You can make it the most awesome, and it'll be awesome. I don't really feel like I tapped into vulnerability at all, I guess. Oh my god, this video is so long. Stop.